Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Regional Park's Instagram Storytime programming for Tuesday, September 1st. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is James, and behind the camera is Nicole. We are at Mission Creek Regional Park on the traditional and unceded territory of the Okanagan Silk people. And our theme today is all about Kokanee salmon. September is the month when many of our creeks and streams that go into Okanagan Lake are visited by adult Kokanee salmon, and they're ending and beginning their life cycles in these creeks. Here I have Harold. Hello, boys and girls. My name is Harold. I am a male Kokanee salmon. You can tell that I'm a Kokanee by my red body and my green head. I also have a bit of a snout, which only the males like me get. I'm visiting the spawning channel during this month of September to start the next generation of Kokanee salmon. My friend Doris will lay eggs and I will fertilize them. How many of you have seen a nice bright red fish like me? Some of you out there? So I have a story about Doris and Harold that I'd like to share with you. And we're going to talk a little bit about the life cycle of Kokanee salmon. This story is called The Life Cycle of Kokanee Salmon. It is written by Joanne Swain. Some of you might recognize Joanne's name. She's an interpreter here with Regional Parks and has been here for many years. My name is Doris. I am a female Kokanee salmon. You can see Doris in the water there. This is Harold, who we already met. He is a male Kokanee salmon. We live together in fresh water for our whole lives. Doris and Harold have been swimming around Okanagan Lake for 3 or 4 or 5 years now. They were born in a group with other Kokanee salmon eggs in the gravel at the bottom of the spawning channel here in Mission Creek Regional Park. Just like what's behind me now. Doris and Harold swim around Okanagan Lake until they find the entrance to Mission Creek. They use their smell to know which creek they were born in and need to journey back up to the spawning area themselves. The temperature of the water in the creek lets them know when it is time to start swimming up to lay their eggs. Sorry about the little bit of technical difficulties. We're gonna just maybe, if you want to pop it out of there?
I'm thinking we might.
I'll hold that. You want to pull it out?
We're good.
Are you okay?
Yeah, thanks, James.
Okay. As Doris and Harold enter the creek and swim around the mouth of the creek, their color starts to change to red. Harold will become red in the body except for his head, which will stay green, as we already saw. His teeth in his mouth will grow and become long and sharp. He will grow a hump on his back just below his gills. Doris will become red on the bottom of her body. The top half of her back will turn a dark green with her head. Her teeth will also grow a little, but not as much as Harold's. Doris chooses Harold to be her mate. On the swim up the creek, she will chase other female Kokanee away from Harold. When they reach the spawning channel, Doris starts looking for a place to lay some of her eggs. When Doris finds just the right spot, she will lead Harold to that location. They will both move their tails back and forth to form an indent in the gravel. Doris will then lay some of her eggs and let Harold spread his milt over the nest. This nest is called a redd with an extra D. Doris and Harold will then wave their tails over the redd to cover the eggs with a little bit of gravel. Just like getting tucked into bed at night. When they are finished with their first redd, they will continue up the stream where Doris will choose other places to lay another redd. This will continue until she runs out of eggs or Harold runs out of milt. If Harold still has milt, he will swim around and hope another female kokanee finds him. He then lays his milt on her eggs until he has none left. When Doris runs out of her eggs, she starts to lose her balance and tip over in the water. Then she dies. Doris has completed her life cycle. In November to December, a dark spot will appear in the egg. This is called the eyed egg. They lay in the gravel in the redd, hoping no animals, birds, or humans will eat or step on their redd. This is why we ask people to stay out of the spawning channel, because a dog step or a human step can crush hundreds of eggs with each footprint. In January to February, they come out of their egg and become alvin. They look like the beginning of a fish, but have a large yolk sac where their stomach should be. When the yolk sac disappears, Doris and Harold must come up to the surface of the water of the creek to take a deep breath of their swim bladder. With the swim bladder full, they can swim around the creek like adult fish. They are now called fry. The fry will swim around the creek with other swim-up fry until about May. In May and June, they will swim down to the lake where they live for 3 to 5 years. In the lake, they must be careful of fishermen, polluted waters, predators like trout and carp, and other large fish. If they live the 3 to 5 years, they will swim up to find the stream where they were born, here at Mission Creek. And they will find a mate and a place to lay their very own eggs. The end. So that story about Doris and Harold tells the full life cycle of a kokanee salmon. And here we have a neat thing called the egg to fry rack. So this demonstrates the different stages of the eggs that are in the creek from September. The first one here is just regular eggs, which are laid in September and October. The eyed eggs have little dots on them, and that's around November and December. Then the alvin come out and they start to look like fish with their yolk sacs. That's in January and February. Then March, April, and May, we have fry. And these look like minnows. And they are the young kokanee salmon. So what's neat to think about is that there are kokanee here in the spawning channel for most of the year. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 9 to 10 months of the year, there are fish in the spawning channel. And we don't see them because they're so small and in the beginning stages of their life cycle. But it's important that we keep this pristine and clean habitat for them to be able to be there for such a long period of time. In that story, we also talked about the water temperature and how the water temperature is an important signal to Doris and Harold to come up the creek. So we did a little bit of an experiment, and we're just testing the water temperature right now. I put a thermometer in there about 20 minutes ago, and let's pull it out and take a look. So this fancy thermometer has a sunfish on there, and the temperature of the water, can you get a reading on that?
Ooh, yeah, 16.
16 degrees Celsius.
Warm.
So this water would be great for a swim and is colder than the lake water. The lake water right now is somewhere around 20 degrees Celsius, and the creek water is 16. So when the water is around 20 in the lake and cooler here in the creeks and the streams, that's the trigger for the kokanee to start their way up to spawn. We have one more story called Fish Eyes by Lois Ellert, and all about fish. Fish Eyes, published by Voyager Books. If I could put on a suit of scales and add some fins and one of these tails, I'd close my eyes and then I'd wish that I'd turn into a beautiful fish. I'd flip down rivers and splash in the sea. I'd swim so far you would never catch me. I'd see, these are some nice colorful fish, one green fish with purple polka dots, two jumping fish. That one there almost looks like a kokanee, the red fish, but it needs a green head. Three smiling fish, woo. Four striped fish, no kokanees there. Five spotted fish. Sometimes kokanee in the creek will get white spots on them too. And that's just the sign that they're starting to get old and not able to stay healthy, and it's a little bit of mold on them. Six fan-tailed fish. Those are some good looking fish. Seven flipping fish. This is one of the actions that if you come out and look at the kokanee, you'll see them because they're going to be digging their reds and they'll be flipping around in the water. 8 stinky fish. Once Harold and Doris finish their spawning, they'll become stinky fish too.
And skinny.
9 flashy fish. And 10 darting fish. Then I'd keep swimming until I would see all of these fish eyes looking at me. Goodbye. Hope to see you again. So now we're in September, as we've been talking about, and the kokanee salmon are starting to come to spawn here at Mission Creek Regional Park in the spawning channel. But you can also go to other regional parks to see kokanee spawning as well. They are at Powers Creek in Glen Canyon Regional Park, as well as in Deep Creek at Hardy Falls Regional Park, and of course here at Mission Creek Regional Park. So if you're interested in going out to any of those regional parks to see kokanee, I would recommend you do so. And some of the etiquette for viewing wildlife, and including the kokanee salmon, is to do so from a distance. So when you're here at Mission Creek or any of our regional parks and you see wildlife, it's always best to stay a safe distance away. Don't want to go right into the creek, because if you're over top of the creek, that presence will scare the kokanee salmon and it's going to disturb what they're doing. So stay well back. Do not go into the creek. So please keep control of your pets. Make sure your dogs are always on a leash in our regional parks, and don't let them go into the water, because they will disturb and maybe eat the fish before they've had a chance to lay their eggs. And if the eggs have been laid, then they may crush those as well. And of course, always leave no trace. So anything you take into the park, please take out with you. We will have some programs about kokanee salmon as well throughout the month of September, and you can see all of those on our Regional Parks program, which is available at www.rdco.com/parks. Thank you very much for joining us today. Have a wonderful September. Bye.